sure she's gonna. Now she wants to go to
Right. Welcome everyone. It's great to see so many of you tuning in live. If you haven't had a chance to mute yourself, go ahead and do that now. Thank you. Hi. Welcome everyone. My name is Devon Pipars. I'm one of the senior instructors at CORE by Hyperice, and I'm so excited this morning to bring you this event around mindfulness and particularly mindful eating. So I'm here with two other CORE instructors, good friends, in fact, Shundo and Joe. And I just want to start with some introductions. So guys, why is this topic relevant and important to you personally?
Shall I start?
Sure.
Yeah. Hi, so my name's Shundo. I'm a Zen priest, and food is an emotional issue for everybody. I'm sure we're going to get to talk about that. I was thinking that particularly at this time, we've just transitioned from the holidays where there's so much expectation around food into the new year where we maybe have been making resolutions around, what we look like or what we want to, how we want to present ourselves in the world. So it's amazing how food is tied up with so much of how we navigate through life. And I'm a big proponent in believing that mindfulness can really help us with those kinds of navigations.
I love that. Thanks, Shundo.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Joe. I'm a fitness instructor, a content creator, and wellness coach for WW. And food. Wow. To echo Shundo, there's so much that comes with food. And I know for me in my personal journey, food has always been a very emotional experience. And mindfulness has really showed me how to build a healthy relationship with food, whether that's in the holidays or going into a new year with a lot of pressure or expectation. So very excited to explore this with you all.
And personally, hi everyone, my name is Devon Pipars, also a meditator of 20 years this year. It's my anniversary. But yes, mindfulness, bringing the quality of mindfulness, which is a quality of presence that you can bring to actually any activity in your life. That for me has fundamentally changed my personal relationship with food, just because I no longer have to eliminate things that I love. I just have to be really present as I'm eating them. And I find that the effect of being really present when I'm eating a special treat, some chocolate or some cake or pie is one of my favorites. But if I'm really present with it, I don't need to eat as much. I find it actually really fulfilling and enjoyable in a smaller amount of time and in a smaller portion too. So I've found that mindful eating has fundamentally shifted my relationship with food in a way that makes it super pleasurable. So yeah, so that's our topic for today. As meditators, we're looking through that lens of mindfulness and bringing that practice of mindfulness to our daily activities. So Joe, for those who don't know, what is WW?
It's Weight Watchers. They just kind of spiced up their name, if you would.
Cool.
Yeah.
And is this a practice that is incorporated into their system?
Yeah, so it's something we've actually been exploring quite a bit with, again, with the holiday and the new year and all that comes with that. And so we explore our wellness journey in 4 pillars, one being food and one being mindset. And through mindset, we talk a lot about what it means to be mindful and therefore be aware of what's actually happening, kind of what you're saying. So talking about what it's like to sit down, enjoy the food and not restrict ourselves.
Nice. Love that. So what are some ways that people can practice, guys? Are there some tips or some specific ways that, people, if they want to explore mindful eating, but they've never done it, how do we begin?
So, just for people who may be on the beginning end of things, mindfulness is, as Devon was saying, being in the present moment without judgment. And so there already we've hit a huge roadblock because we all have a lot of judgments around food. I love it. No broccoli, whatever it is, we have judgments around that. So just the practice that, we develop on a meditation cushion of paying attention to the present moment without judgment is hugely important when we move off the meditation cushion into other parts of the day. And I lived at a Zen temple and a monastery for a long time, and meditation is the core practice. But we move from that very quickly into study, work, and eating is also a formalized activity at the monastery. It's a ritual. We make a ritual out of eating, which is great. The only problem is you have to eat really fast. But other than that, there's a lot of ways that we bring mindfulness to that. I'm gonna say one thing which I think people are, more and more aware of these days. With any kind of ritual, you do chants, and one of the chants we had was about eating was, we reflect on the effort that brought us this food and consider how it comes to us. So that's a practice we can all do. Like if we're in the supermarket or at the shop, wherever we are, where does this food come from? How did it get to the supermarket? How did it get to my table? It's an amazing question we can all ask ourselves, and just be mindful of those things. Like, oh, I need avocados today, or I need pineapples. Like, where did that come from? How did that pineapple get to your plate? And making, good choices around those things. Another thing I'm going to say, I think.
Oh, sorry, Shundo. I just want to say that's such a beautiful point, because then also you have gratitude when you have recognition as well.
Mhm.
Just noticing like all the people involved and all the processes involved to get you that food. That's beautiful. Thank you.
It's amazing. Yeah, we don't have to bake our own bread. I mean, if I was left to my own devices, I've never eaten a slice of bread because I don't know how to make bread. And toast is my favorite food. So like, I'm so grateful for whoever it was that figured out that you could make bread and then B, toast it. I mean, it's amazing. I'm just trying to think of a couple of other things. There's one practice I found really helpful, and as I said, our ritualized eating was actually kind of a very speedy thing. But I went to visit a Thich Nhat Hanh monastery one time, and they have this amazing practice where if they have a plate of food and a fork, they eat, they put a mouthful of, forkful in their mouth, and they put the fork down before they, and they eat that mouthful. So this is paying attention to the present moment. And I do this a lot. Like I'm taking one mouthful, I'm immediately like scooping up the next one. So putting the fork down, putting the spoon down, putting the sandwich down between every mouthful, it's an amazing practice that we can try to cultivate. I'm not very good at it, but it's a really amazing one to try. So I can recommend that as a practice for people to try. And then also, we talk about just doing one thing at a time. And so, I'm very used to eating sandwiches while watching TV, or, like getting my bowl of cereal and reading the newspaper. It's so easy not to be paying attention to the food as we're eating it. So sitting down and paying attention to what you're eating is a great starting point to being mindful about your food. Because make it the focus of your attention. And I think we can unpack that a little bit more in a minute, but I want to hand on for you and Joe to have some suggestions too.
Yeah, Joe, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think Shundo, just hearing your experience too, I think, and the advice that you're giving, it's like just a little moment to recognize how the food came to you is going to really expand your awareness and expand that experience and just give you so much more in the moment, which is so amazing. And I think to your point too, right? Like, I mean, how many of us, I do this all the time where I come home from work and I'm tired and I want to sit in front of the TV and catch up on my shows and eat all of my foods. But then before I know it, my food is completely gone. And I had this experience like 2 days ago when I was like, wait a minute, my food's all gone. I don't even remember what it tasted like. So kind of for anyone who's just starting to explore what it means to be mindful while eating, just finding one little tiny thing you can do and like growing from there, whether that's acknowledging how the food came to you, whether that's turning off the TV, whether that's taking a moment when you have the food in front of you, acknowledging the smell. Oh, what does this smell like? When it hits your mouth, what does that taste? And then from there, what is that texture? Just having these little moments are going to start to shift your experience.
Beautiful. And, I had a thought as well, like just recognizing my own bad habits as we talk, just being mindful that, you're not eating while you're working, like just separating even just the energies that you want to experience, the difference between the intensity or the anxiety, that's kind of in your body or in your mind or in your experience while you're working and responding, like putting out fires for work. That's maybe not the best circumstance to digest peacefully in, right? When you're immersed in that energy, like sitting in front of your laptop and just like trying to answer your emails as you're shoving the food into your face. Close your laptop at a mealtime, walk away from it, go to a space where you normally unwind or relax. a space that's associated with resting and restoring yourself. And sit down, don't eat standing up. I find that really helpful too, so that, you know, the blood can actually go to the organs for digestion, so that you're not giving your body mixed messages. Your body can just focus on processing and nourishing itself with that gift of food. I think that's really helpful, to draw some strong boundaries for yourself. At least I found that helpful. And this is actually something I discovered over the pandemic, is I even have to flip my phone over during meals, because otherwise, if I have it face up and it's on the table beside me, I'm seeing the Slack messages, and I'm seeing the texts or the missed phone calls, I'm seeing the emails coming in, and it kind of ramps up my anxiety, so that I'm distracted from my food, and I'm feeling maybe pulled in two different directions. So, you know, draw those boundaries for yourself. Like, the time to eat is time for you. And that's necessary time. Like, you don't have to justify why you're not available for that amount of time. Like, you wouldn't have to justify why you're in the bathroom for a certain amount of time. That ain't nobody's business but yours. So I would just say, feel free to draw those boundaries between your time and work time with food as well.
Yeah, I would add that I grew up in a very traditional family where we were all expected to eat at the table together, you know, 3 times a day. You know, not if my dad was at work, but breakfast and dinner we ate together. And so luckily I still have that mindset that it makes sense for me to sit down at the table to eat my food. I'm just not very good at like the turning the computer off, or like not doing something else while I'm doing it. But I think for many people that's already like a huge step. Is like sit down and make your meal time at a particular place. As you say, giving it the connotations like I'm at a table because I'm eating, you know, and making it a thing rather than just, you know, walking around, you know, eating something, or, you know,
Right.
wherever else you are, just making that an occasion. So this is, you know, as I was talking about in the monastery, we make everything a ritual. You can make your own rituals around these things. And for me, sitting down at a table to eat it's still an everyday ritual that I like to do. You know, even if I don't score very highly on all the other things, like at least that's my starting point.
Beautiful. And guys, I really want to ask you, like, why does this matter? Like, why is it, what benefit does it have? Like, why should people think this is important, to start investigating how to bring mindfulness to the quality of eating? Like, what's the result? What's the benefit? What's the reward for people that do this?
Um, there's so much to it, right? Because I think, because like what we talked about at the beginning, there's so much attached to food. And when we are, I found in my experience, when I'm not aware or I'm not recognizing something or I'm not mindful, in a way, I'm kind of giving my power away in some senses.
Hmm.
Whereas when I'm very mindful of something, not only do I get to really enjoy what's happening, like enjoying my meal, and I love what I'm seeing in the chat too, of like, or what's being shared is like no phone at the table. So awesome. But when I'm mindful, I feel like I'm in my power of what's actually happening, and I get to experience it to the fullest. And if it's not serving me in some way, I then have the power to make a shift or an edit.
Yeah.
And I would add to that, yeah, that, you know, we're trying to develop our own mindfulness, you know, as we move through all the elements of our life. And eating is something that's, you know, essential and hugely important, and we get to do it several times a day. So it's the ideal opportunity to practice that attention, to practice that mindfulness, to practice just focusing on one thing at a time, to notice, you know, what the judgments are that are coming up around things, or what your expectations are, what cultural expectations or personal expectations or family whatever it is, just getting to notice all that stuff. And then as Joe says, you're more powerful every time you do that. You know, every time we're mindful in any situation, we're more powerful. And so, you know, we just get the opportunity to practice this every day, several times a day, through food, definitely.
Nice. I like that. And something that arose in my mind was the pleasure too, like the joy and the ease that comes with just doing one thing, not overwhelming your system, your emotions, your mind, diminishing that experience that is inherently pleasurable. Food is a gift, right? It's something that we all enjoy and we all look forward to in our own ways, whatever it is that you're choosing to eat. it's usually something that you chose and you're excited about. So let that be a conscious reward. Let that be a mini break in your day where you're enjoying yourself. That's important. That's an important way to fill your cup. And yes, please feel free to use the chat. This is a dialogue, not a monologue. We want to hear from you too. I saw something just come up. My biggest challenge is when I get home from work at 4 p.m. and feeling like I need a snack before my dinner at 6. And I find that is a time I overeat. I feel like I can't wind down fast enough from the stress of being in the clinic. Guys, any thoughts on that?
Joe, do you want to take that one first? I'll gather my thoughts.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think I relate to this so much in the sense of, especially after a stressful day or a day where things kind of go awry or there's a lot of challenges you're navigating. Coming home, it's kind of like, at least is this moment where you get to breathe, but most of the time, all of that just carries with you. And there's a technique we explore a lot at WW called taking a pause, which is just as it sounds, which is like taking a pause, because if you're feeling hungry, you deserve to eat, right? Like your body needs fuel. Food is fuel after all. But kind of taking a pause and trying and seeing if that works. And if it doesn't, you get to explore other things. But taking a pause and a big breath in and out just to kind of like calm your nervous system is a great way before then engaging with food. And then you're going to be more mindful, right? Because you're relaxing and you're coming into the moment.
Nice. I like that. There's a suggestion from another person, another participant in the chat there too. Snack only on what will keep you full until dinner time. I find a bowl of oatmeal is very helpful. I relate to this too. You know, like when I think of a snack, I think of when I was a kid. Like, what would I eat for recess? You know, like not lunch, but for recess. So I'm often like, okay, Dev, like let's cut an apple up into quarters, and maybe you can dip it in some peanut butter, you know, because that's fun and you love peanut butter. And I'll do something like that, you know, just something small to tide me over, so I don't feel bereft. I don't feel like I'm starving myself. I feel like I've had a little snack, but do keep in mind it's just a snack to tide you over. The other thing that I've noticed really helped is sometimes when I'm feeling hungry, I'm actually really thirsty. Sometimes I'm dehydrated and I misinterpret that in my body as hunger. So having a nice full glass of water before you eat more is a way to check that it's not dehydration as well. So guys, why don't we do a mindful eating exercise together? Maybe we can give for everyone who's joined, if you just want to take like 30 seconds, a minute, whatever the time it takes you to run to your kitchen. If you want to grab something, Joe, what would you recommend for a mindful eating exercise?
I think anything very accessible. So like anything that's quick, like a quick little pretzel from a bag of pretzels, or like a carrot stick or an apple, something just very accessible.
A raisin.
Mhm.
Raisin.
Okay.
A peanut, yeah.
I bought one dried cranberry.
Just one. I got a
Just
whole
one.
little bowl of popcorn here. So I can't eat just one of anything.
That's part of the practice. That's part of what we got to practice.
Okay, sure.
I just while people are doing that, maybe I just want to add something to that point about I can't wind down fast enough from stress.
Yeah.
It's like, well, the first thing is noticing the stress. You know, that's the first one. You notice the stress. You come home from the clinic. Oh, I'm really stressed. So that noticing is already an amazing starting point. And then, you know, are there other things that you can do to help dissipate that stress as you move into time? Now, I'm the kind of person who gets hangry. You know, like I'm really bad on low blood sugar.
Me too.
I know if I need to eat, I need to eat. And for me, you know, growing up in England, that usually meant cookies, you know, like, oh, let's just grab a cookie because there were always cookies. And 4 o'clock for me, like 4 o'clock's tea time. You have a cup of tea and you have a couple of cookies, and then that keeps you going until dinner time. So those would be my go-to suggestions. But even just noticing the stress and knowing what you can do to unwind, you know, I would often, you know, jump in the shower right back from work, because that's, you know, that's cutting through the transition time, like from that stressful time to taking care of yourself time. So just noticing what your strategies need to be, you know, around that. And that's again all part of the mindful approach to everyday activities.
That's a really beautiful idea, actually, because our commute used to be our transition, didn't it?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
maybe it still is for some people, and maybe it's not for other people. If you're doing body work in your home, developing, ritualizing a transition, even if it's going outside and taking a walk around the block in between your work and your relaxation time, but just making an energetic or physical shift so that you're priming your body and your mind for you time, relaxation time. That's a great idea. Okay.
Mhm.
I think everybody should be back with their little bite-sized snack. Joe, do you want to lead us through a mindful eating exercise?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So wherever you are, friends, just go ahead and get comfortable. And just kind of like see the food you're about to experience and enjoy, and get ready for all the pleasure that comes with that. And just to kind of like ground us in our space, let's just take a big inhale in through the nose together. Big exhale out the mouth. And then just kind of see whatever that food, that snack, that item is, just kind of see it. And then bring it a little closer to the nose, just to really experience the smell. And if that means you take a more exaggerated inhale, that's what you do. And just taking a pause here just to let that kind of marinate with the other senses, if that makes sense. And then when it feels right, just popping whatever that is into your mouth. Yeah. And just letting the food really take its time, going from side to side. And as the food kind of meets the taste buds, just start to recognize what's coming up. Is it a more salty, savory sensation? Is it a little sweeter? Is there a tang? Is there a sour? Maybe there's a note you didn't expect. And then as you kind of let whatever flavor profiles are coming up marinate as well, what is that texture? What is that texture? How does it feel against your tongue? Yeah. How does it feel going from side to side? And even with any distractions, keeping your awareness around what's happening inside your mouth.
Jessica, if you just want to mute yourself, that would be great. Thank you for participating.
Thank you, Jessica. Okay, so if your awareness went somewhere else, no worries, that happens. Just bringing it back to whatever's still dancing around in your mouth. And when you feel as if not only the smell, the taste, and the texture have all marinated, and just letting that food slide down your throat, all the way down, slowly ingesting to the bottom of your stomach. And what we explore in this moment, right, is we're really recognizing what's happening. We're being mindful, we're being in the moment, we're experiencing that food and truly enjoying and what it offers. And by taking a pause, we're letting our body catch up with our sensations or our taste, our senses. And then as everything kind of just connects, we get to assess, do we need more? Do we need a different flavor profile? And we get to take steps from there.
That was awesome. I actually noticed at one point, I didn't even realize, but I mean, I was eating popcorn, which is one of my favorite foods. I love popcorn of all different flavors. And I did have to pop a couple pieces just because it dissolves so quickly. It dissolves, you know. But at the same, what I noticed was after I like just letting it happen so slowly, at one point I took a deep breath And as I exhaled, I felt my shoulders fall. And I didn't even know that my shoulders were up slightly, but I felt my body relax as I slowed down the process of eating. And like, just as you said, like, it's like my body it needed more time to recognize, oh, this is nice. This is a relaxing, this is a good thing, this moment, so you can soften and let go of any tension from the morning. So it was great. Thank you.
And and what Joe pointed to there is we're engaging all the senses, and this is why food is such a powerful topic for mindfulness, because we are sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. The version I have done of this before is like, this is why I brought just one cranberry, is like, you're getting to touch it, you're getting to smell it. Like, what is this really? Like, if you're doing it with a raisin or something like that, what is this strange thing in front of me? And then popping it in your mouth and, wow, this, and taking time to notice all that. And then immediately, as Devon pointed out, you immediately want to reach for something else. And then taking that time, like, do I want to reach for something else right now? And I just want to add one bit of wisdom I was offered by the abbess at the monastery one time, and she said, well, if you feel hungry at the end of the meal, wait 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you still feel hungry after 20 minutes, go ahead and eat more. Because I'm a great one for like, oh my God, that lasagna was so good, I'm having a second portion right away, or I want more chocolate, I have an incredibly sweet tooth. So like, more chocolate, sure. Wait 20 minutes, see what happens. It's a very powerful practice that we can offer ourselves. So just being mindful of the craving as much as anything, the senses, and then the craving that the senses invoke. This is how I understand it.
Great. That's beautiful. Thank you. I remember in India too, they would always say, leave 1/4 of your stomach empty, always. You don't have to eat till you're absolutely full. Just leave 1/4. Just
Well, that's for dessert, yeah.
Yeah, that's for dessert. I like where your head's at. That's my pie space. That space is reserved parking for pie. But yeah, no, it would like notice if when you start to slow down, you do start to notice actually that moment when your brain tells your body, okay, I'm actually full. Because when I eat too quickly, sometimes I overeat because I'm eating so fast that that actually afterwards I'll be like, oh, now I'm uncomfortable. I ate that bowl of pasta too fast and it was too much actually. But if I eat slower, then my brain actually has time to tell my body, oh, that's enough. That's enough. I feel good. I feel satiated. So then I can leave that little bit of space. That's one way that it helps too. Guys, any other thoughts on the tie between mindfulness and meditation, and what else we might be trying out to do mindfully in our lives aside from eating, or any other thoughts you want to share?
Well, as we've touched on a few times, any time we can be mindful during the day is a time when we reclaim our own power, we reclaim our kind of full presence and full authenticity, I think. And I know that it's huge when you get to do this in your own life. It's hugely powerful. And so, if food is a great way to do this, any activity you can think of, driving or, brushing your teeth, whatever it is, bringing that same approach to it is possible. I think it has great benefits.
Yeah.
Joe?
Yeah. To echo Shundo, like just being aware of what's happening is it's such a powerful way of experiencing and also being in control in a lot of ways. And I know for me, it felt very overwhelming in the beginning of like, I want to do this, and I want to be mindful in all these moments, but just really kind of like we did talking about food, right? Like identifying one small little baby step you can do in whatever avenue that is, whether that's recognizing how the food got to the table, whether that's turning off the TV or putting your phone face down, or taking a pause before you engage in whatever that activity is, just letting it be one small baby step.
I love that. Yeah, don't overwhelm yourself. Set small, accessible goals so that you can build on that. Sarah just shared, thank you, Sarah, in the link. You can access the Core app so that you can check out some meditation practices from all three of us, from myself, Shundo, and Joe, in the free Core app. It's an app that you can use even if you don't have the Core meditation trainer. You can get access to our essential library right now today to bring a little bit of mindful meditation into your life as well. So thanks for sharing that, Sarah. If anyone else in participating has any questions or any comments, please feel free to use the chat. And if you have to jump, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to join you and unpack this topic. Yeah. Wonderful. Thanks. Thanks, Susan. Thanks, Judy. Remember that the side effect of being mindful is more ease and more joy. Always. That's the
Definitely.
side effect.
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
You're so welcome. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We appreciate you. We'd just be talking to ourselves if you weren't here. This is cinnamon bun flavored popcorn, by the
Oh,
way.
goodness.
That is a
Oh
treat.
yeah, I'm having it all. It's savory,
Ah.
it's sweet.
Oh, that's great. I'm inspired, Devin.
Well, after this call, I'm getting off for a cup of coffee and a piece of toast.
Yeah. And I bet you're
Yes.
gonna have some toast since now we know
Toast.
that's your favorite. Yeah.
Mhm.
My favorite food group, definitely.
Do you call them cookies in England or is it
No,
biscuits?
we say biscuits. I just want it to be accessible. You know.
Okay.
Tea and biscuits. Is what I love.
Biscuits and tea. Yeah.
Biscuits and tea. Ah,
Well,
so
is
nice.
tea time dinner time or is it actually tea time? I guess-
That's actually it's a very moot point. In some parts of England, tea is, you know, if I'm going from a tea, that means you're having dinner. Like in the part that I was brought up in, tea is like an afternoon treat
Right.
before the
Okay.
actual supper time. Yeah.
Good, good. I'm getting a
Can be
full
confusing.
education here. All right. I think we can stop the recording. Oh, here's a good one. What would you suggest to children, often women, going through development and struggling with body image societal pressure? How would you go about suggesting mindful eating? Great, great question. Any thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, I think, this kind of goes into, right, talking about how food has so much, right? Because there is so much societal pressure to look a certain way, especially with things like Instagram and all the social media platforms out there. The one thing that I would encourage you to do is start to bring some awareness, or do your best to start recognizing moments where you feel the most reactive. So saying like, okay, when I'm going to go eat after doing this, I'm feeling this, or just start to bring this idea into your space as you're navigating of when am I feeling reactive? And then from there, you kind of get some power to start saying like, these are some boundaries or some things I could try. And I would encourage you to just exploring what it's like to slow down, because you're going to be able to see those reactive moments a lot clearer. And let me know too, Kelsey, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, we can keep going.
I had a thought as well, Kelsey. I'm not sure if this is your children or other people's children, but maybe you could suggest, or if it's for a client, that they do this with their children. That this mindful eating becomes like a family event, or like when possible, that that you kind of model what you want them to also tune into, and sitting with doing some mindful meals when possible, and talking about food and your relationship with food. I'm just talking about your day, or talking about things that come up that are challenging around food, ideas around food, things that you think are wrong about food, things that, issues with food. Like I think it's really valuable to be vulnerable with children. They're smart, they're perceptive, and to even confess or admit, like, I haven't always had a great relationship with food, or I used to have some issues with food too. And this is kind of how I'm thinking about it now. And that's kind of why I'm excited to try mindful eating, because I recognize that actually food is not only necessary, but it's pleasurable and it's a reward. It's the way that I nourish my body and show love for my body. So do you want to do this with me? That could be a good way too. Yeah. Any other thoughts on that, folks? Okay. Thanks, Kelsey. Great question. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you, Devon. Thank you, Shundo. Thank you, Joe. We're so grateful to have you all again. That was fantastic. And thanks everyone for attending.
Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate you.